Welcome back to American Restored. Throughout history, the automobile has been a symbol of freedom, innovation, and progress. Every decade brought new ideas, some that shaped the future of driving, and others that were simply experiments. Not every invention makes it. Some look futuristic when they launch, but over time, they reveal flaws, limitations, or simply fall out of style. In today's video, we'll explore 15 car innovations that did not stand the test of time. These are the features that once promised to change the way we drive, but today survive only in memory, old photos, and classic car shows. So, buckle up and let's take a nostalgic ride through automotive history. 1. Pop-up headlights. We start with one of the most beloved features of the past, the pop-up headlight. In the 1980s and 90s, nothing said sporty like a pair of headlights rising smoothly from the hood. They made cars look alive and instantly gave them personality. Cars like the Mazda, Miata, Corvette, and Toyota MR2 turned heads because of this unique style. But the charm didn't last forever. Safety standards, pedestrian regulations, and aerodynamic concerns all pushed manufacturers to abandon the idea. By the early 2000s, pop-up headlights had disappeared, leaving behind only nostalgia and collectors who still adore them. 2. Curb feelers. Next on our list, curb feelers. These little metal rods were attached to the sides of cars in the 50s and 60s. Their job was simple. When you parked too close to the curb, they scraped against it, making a noise to warn you. It was clever for its time, but today we have parking sensors, cameras, and advanced systems that make curb feelers look almost laughable. What was once practical is now just a quirky relic you'll only see on restored classics. 3. Car phones. Before smartphones ruled the world, the ultimate status symbol was a car phone. If you had one, you weren't just driving, you were doing business on the move. From movies to TV shows, car phones were a mark of power and luxury in the 80s and 90s. But technology moves fast. Portable cell phones quickly became cheaper, smaller, and far more useful. Today, car phones are a symbol of another time, collecting dust in museums and vintage shows. 4. Tail fins. Let's head back to the 1950s. The world was dreaming of space travel, rockets, and the jet age. Car designers followed the trend by adding enormous tail fins to vehicles, especially Cadillacs. The bigger the fins, the more futuristic the car looked. They became cultural icons, representing post-war optimism and the American dream. But as the 60s arrived, tail fins went from fashionable to excessive. They were impractical, hard to manufacture, and sometimes even ridiculed. Soon, the trend disappeared, leaving behind some of the most iconic designs in classic car history. 5. Motorized seat belts. In the 1980s, some manufacturers introduced motorized seat belts. When you closed the door, the belt automatically moved across your shoulder. It was marketed as futuristic safety, but in practice, slow, clunky, and often frustrating. Drivers hated how restrictive it felt. Once airbags became standard, motorized belts vanished almost overnight. Today, they remain one of those what were they thinking moments in car safety history. 6. Record players in cars. Yes, this was real. In the 1950s, a few luxury cars came with built-in record players. It sounded glamorous. Imagine cruising while spinning your favorite vinyl. But there was one major problem. Cars move and vinyl records skip. Every bump, every turn ruined the music experience. Within a few years, the feature was abandoned. Cassette tapes, CDs, and later digital media proved far more practical. 7. Car ashtrays and cigarette lighters. For decades, every car had them. Smoking was so common that ashtrays and lighters were standard features. But as awareness of health risks grew, times changed. By the early 2000s, manufacturers started removing cigarette lighters, replacing them with power outlets and USB chargers. Today, the once standard ashtray has become a historical artifact, another reminder of how culture shaped car design. 8. Digital dashboards, 1980s style. In the 1980s, car companies wanted everything to look futuristic. Enter the digital dashboard, bright green or red numbers replacing traditional gauges. For a moment, It looked like the future had arrived. But in reality, they were hard to read, often unreliable, and lacked the timeless style of analog dials. Modern digital clusters are far more advanced, but those early versions? They've been left in the past. 9. The third headlight, Cyclops light. One of the strangest experiments in car design was the third headlight, sometimes mounted in the center of the car, and in some cases, even swiveling with the steering wheel. It was supposed to make night driving safer. But in practice, drivers found it unnecessary. It was extra cost, extra complexity, and very little benefit. Today, adaptive LED headlights achieve the same goal, proving the idea wasn't bad, just ahead of its time. 10. Hard disk drives for music. In the early 2000s, before streaming services took over, some luxury cars offered hard disk drives to store music directly in the vehicle. At first, it seemed brilliant, but technology advanced too quickly. MP3 players, iPods, and later smartphones made the feature irrelevant almost instantly. It's a perfect example of how even good ideas can't survive when the pace of innovation is faster. 11. Talking cars. If you grew up in the 80s, you may remember cars that literally talked. Your door is ajar became a meme before memes existed. The idea was meant to improve safety with voice alerts. Instead, it annoyed drivers endlessly. The robotic voices became more of a distraction than a help. Manufacturers quickly pulled the plug, leaving talking cars as one of the most amusing failed experiments in automotive history. 12. Onboard fax machines. Yes, believe it or not, some luxury sedans once came with fax machines. The idea was to let busy executives send documents right from the car. But like car phones, the idea was crushed by the rise of mobile technology. Today, it's hard not to laugh at the thought of someone pulling over to send a fax in traffic. 13. T-tops. In the 70s and 80s, T-tops were everywhere. The removable roof panels gave drivers the open-air freedom of a convertible with the structure of a coupe. They looked cool, but they leaked badly. Over time, owners found them more frustrating than fun. By the 90s, the design had mostly disappeared, surviving only in nostalgic models. 14. Night vision displays. Luxury brands introduced night vision displays in the early 2000s. Using infrared, they projected a thermal image of the road onto the dashboard. It sounded futuristic, but most drivers rarely used it. It was expensive, complex, and not always practical. Today, a few luxury brands still experiment with it, but it never became mainstream. 15. Hydraulic suspensions, extreme versions. Finally, we have hydraulic suspensions, systems that could raise, lower, and tilt cars with the push of a button. They were popular in show cars and some high-end models, but in everyday driving, they were overly complex, prone to failure, and expensive to repair. Modern adaptive suspensions still use the idea in a more refined way, but those extreme hydraulic systems are mostly gone. Final thoughts. And there you have it. 15 car innovations that once looked like the future, but couldn't survive the test of time. From pop-up headlights to onboard fax machines, these features remind us that innovation is a gamble. Some ideas revolutionize driving forever, while others become fascinating footnotes in history. Which one of these features do you remember most? And which would you love to see make a comeback? Let us know in the comments below. We always love hearing your stories. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to American Restored, and hit the bell icon so you never miss our next look back at the past. Thanks for watching.